Welcome back to Mac Stories Unwind. Today's show is brought to you by Paste. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm good. I've been saving stories, Federico, and I want to talk to you. Yeah, I've been saving stories. I've been saving this one story since before Christmas.
Okay. Wow. It's a long time.
In early December, I went to a classical music radio station. They had a Christmas holiday open house.
Okay.
And you might say, John, why would you do this? And the answer is simple. I was curious about the tech they used to run the radio station, because this is a very famous classical radio station in the United States called WDAV in Davidson, North Carolina. Turns out, I looked them up. They're one of the largest classical music stations in the country. I guess they're rebroadcast all over the place. Okay. And they have a whole online component and everything. So I am not a classical music person. I don't really know much about it, but my sense is that they're a pretty big deal. Yet I walk by this place almost every day, and I never see anybody coming or going. And I thought, this is really weird. But they had this open house, so I thought I'd drop by and see how it compares to the podcast world. That's really what I was there for. I was like, I like my gear. I wanted to see what microphones they had and what computers they were using and what was happening there. And it was this lovely building that's actually quite modern, but was designed to look like an older house, because this is in an older part of town near Davidson College. And it was just a fantastic building in that, like, they had these studios where you could go in, and the windows had these thick glass double paned windows so that the outside noise wouldn't come in. And there was acoustic tile everywhere. You really felt like you were stepping into a cave when you went into one of these studios, because there was absolutely no sound bouncing. It was, really nice setup. But the guy who was taking us around, the first stop on the tour of the facility, was to the office of a guy whose job it was to rip CDs.
Wow.
My jaw nearly hit the ground. I was like, you don't want to be rude. You don't want to say, hold on. Your job is to rip CDs? Because first of all, I didn't think anybody listened to CDs anymore. But I guess a lot of classical music is on CDs. Mm-hmm. But he rips the CDs. He had a huge library of CDs behind him in a wall, floor to ceiling shelving unit thing that came out from the side of the wall, just thousands of CDs. And he had a computer, and he ripped the CDs, and he kept them all organized and all, he was the metadata guy basically, to a degree. And then I was thinking, okay, well, this is very interesting. I just feel like I stepped back in time. Mm-hmm. So I followed the tour, and I saw, some of what they were doing. And in one room, one of the studios, They basically were running Windows setups of various types, and they had these giant mixing boards. And I think part of it is that, at least before the pandemic, and they were starting to ramp this up again, they would have musical groups come into the studio and play live. And so they needed, a lot of equipment for that, a lot of microphones, a lot of, mixing boards and that sort of thing. And they had pretty standard microphones. I would say microphones that were roughly equivalent of the kind of things that we use. But then we got a little further into the tour, and I finally couldn't help myself, because, they were explaining how quiet it was. And they said, one of the reasons it's so quiet is because we have a separate server room for all of our computers. Okay. So basically everything you were seeing in these rooms, in these studios, was just, a monitor of some sort, and the various peripherals for, computer keyboards and mixing boards and that kind of thing. And in this smaller room, humming away, were a bunch of computers. And I thought, that's kind of interesting. I was looking around, seeing what was happening, and it's all specially air conditioned and everything. And then the guy explains to us that one of the things that they do is that they rebroadcast some shows that I think are produced by NPR, which is National Public Radio in the U.S. And he was explaining how those shows get to the radio station so they could be rebroadcast. And he said they send them via a satellite to this huge dish that sits on the back of this nearby art museum.
Okay.
And I looked at him and I just couldn't help myself anymore. And I said, how come you don't just use the internet? Because
Right.
I was like, these are NPR is sending them MP3s to play on the radio. These are not like, this is not like live sports coverage. You know what I mean? That's being beamed to satellites.
Right.
These are tiny files
Yes.
comparatively. And he had this look on his face. He recovered pretty quickly. Like he had never really considered why somebody didn't just like email them the file. And then he said, well, that's just how NPR does it. So we had to invest in this whole satellite dish system, which I found absolutely flabbergasting because, I mean, this satellite dish, I've seen it, is probably, I don't know, probably 10 meters across or something like that. It's huge. And it sits on the roof of a building. Can't be cheap to maintain. So there was that, which I thought was funny. And then I also learned that of all the people who do the shows there, none of them, except for one guy, records live anymore. None of them broadcasts live. What they do is they come up with their list of songs that they're going to play, the music they're going to do, and then they come in and they just record all of the little interstitials between. It's like a public radio station, so there aren't ads, but they have like sponsors and
Yeah.
things, and they talk about the composers and the songs that they're playing. But they just come in, record all that at once, and then leave. And so I thought, you know what, this really could be done from someone's home office. But here they are, this fancy setup, and I'm kind of making fun of it, but I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of good reasons why they do it the way they do it. But I thought it was particularly interesting that there's still someone somewhere in the world who is ripping CDs for a living, and people sending MP3s or whatever audio format they are over a satellite dish instead of, they don't need much of a modem to do that. But that's my radio station story.
That's amazing. I really, really love this story.
They had good cookies too. It was, this was their opening up to the community type thing that they do once a year. So I felt like I couldn't miss my opportunity. I had to go by myself because Jennifer's like, yeah, more power to you. I'm staying home.
That's wow. Okay. I was not expecting this.
This episode of Mac Stories Unwind is brought to you by Paste, the clipboard manager for iOS and macOS. Paste is a fantastic tool because it gives you an unlimited clipboard history, ensuring that nothing ever gets lost and allowing you to keep track of everything you copy on all of your devices. It has intelligent search too, making it easy to quickly find items, even if you've copied a ton of stuff over time. And it has customizable rules. You can specify which apps Paste should track, giving you full control of your data and which ones it shouldn't. Things like password managers, for instance. The app also offers easy-to-read content previews so you can see thumbnails of information that you've copied, whether it's an image or something else. They're nice, big, and clear, making it super easy to find what you're looking for quickly. And you can edit things before you use them. For instance, if you have a little snippet of text and you need to make a quick change to it, you can do that right within Paste. Your most frequently used items can be kept close at hand too for quick access. And it uses secure iCloud storage so that all of your data is transferred between your devices privately using iCloud storage with industry standard security technologies. But one of my favorite things about Paste is the fact that it's incredibly customizable. You can set up custom rules, and it works with shortcuts, letting you dial in exactly the experience that you want and you need. For the power users out there, you can even paste multiple items in a specific order if you want. And you can make sure that all formatting is stripped out of text. So if you copy information from a HTML email, for instance, you can use the plain text formatting feature to strip out unwanted formatting and just get the text that you wanted. And of course, the shortcuts integration is something that I know that a lot of Mac Stories listeners would really appreciate because you can automate anything you want in Paste. It's super powerful that way too. To learn more and download the app, go to pasteapp.io today to check it out. Again, that URL is pasteapp.io. Our thanks to Paste for its support of the show.
I also have a story, not a pick for you today. I have a bit of an update, if you will. So you published your gaming story for the Vision Pro on Mac Stories and all the different ways that people can play games on their Vision Pro. And one of the things that we didn't have enough time to cover, and also like I didn't realize that there was a way to do that, was streaming games from a gaming PC. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, John. You don't have a desktop gaming PC. You just have a Neo consoles, right?
Yes. Yes. And this method that you came up with, I actually, at some point during my research, I thought about it and then it slipped my mind and I should have included it, but I think you should let people know about it because it is, from all accounts, the best way to stream games from a PC to a Vision Pro.
Okay. So years ago, there used to be a piece of software called NVIDIA Game Stream. Do you remember, John, when NVIDIA, they used to make the NVIDIA Shield?
Oh, yeah. I think some people are still into those things.
Yeah, some people are still into that. NVIDIA doesn't make that anymore. But the Shield was based on this game streaming technology that unfortunately was discontinued a few years ago. Ever since NVIDIA Game Stream was discontinued, a bunch of folks came together to provide an alternative from streaming games from a gaming PC to any other screen, like a tablet, like a phone, like a TV, whatever. So there's this software that you install on your gaming PC that acts as a server called Sunshine. Now, Sunshine is a little utility that runs on your Windows PC and that basically serves as the server-side component to stream whatever is displayed on your screen to another computer, to another device. And on the other end, on the other screen, so for example, let's say you are in bed and your gaming PC is in your office. You're in bed, you want to play some, I don't know, Sea of Stars on your phone or on your iPad. You can install this very popular streaming client called Moonlight. So there you go. You got Moonlight and Sunshine. See, it's a nice combo. You use Moonlight and Sunshine and you can stream games from a gaming PC to any device where Moonlight is available. Moonlight is on Android, is on the iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, the Mac, and now, of course, we realized after the fact on the Vision Pro. So you could already install Moonlight as an iPad app in compatibility mode. However, now there's a test flight beta, which is open to everyone, for a native Vision OS version of Moonlight. Now, Moonlight works by selecting a PC on your local network. You can also do things to play over the internet, which I have not done because I am not comfortable leaving my gaming PC turned on with the GPU going in turbo mode when I'm not home. There's just something about it that makes me feel uncomfortable, but you can do that if you want. And in Moonlight, you can tweak all sorts of settings. So you can do, for example, bitrate, you can choose quality, resolution, you can tweak whether the host computer should play audio or not. There's all kinds of settings that you can tweak. So when I saw this, I thought, well, this is great. I am going to finally be able to play something like, for example, like a Dragon or, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I still want to finish the DLC. I can play those while I'm in bed with the Vision Pro, put a giant virtual PC display on the ceiling and stream games like that. And I was very optimistic because I tried with Ethernet. With my iPad Pro, Moonlight was working beautifully. I was like, okay, I got this. I'm gonna test it on the Vision Pro. I tried it and it was horrible, absolutely unplayable. And by unplayable, I mean like I would move the joystick and the character would move after 5 seconds. The audio was breaking out. It was terribly delayed, wild latency. Everything was stuttering. It was horrible. And so I started doing a lot of research. As we do, and yes. Simultaneously you basically send me the same link that I just landed on with my Google searches. So there appears to be a known limitation with the Vision Pro, other Apple devices too, but especially the Vision Pro, with the Wi-Fi channel that the Vision Pro uses to check something that is called AWDL. That stands for, if I'm not mistaken, Apple Wireless Display Link. Let me check. Apple AWDL. So that is Apple Wireless Direct Link. So this is the peer-to-peer connection that Apple uses all around their operating systems for things like AirDrop, continuity, universal control. And this AWDL framework lives on the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi band in the United States on channel 149. So the Wi-Fi has multiple channels that you can choose. And the Vision Pro on the 5 gigahertz band, which is really what you want to use. Unfortunately, you cannot use the 6 gigahertz band, which is Wi-Fi 6E, because the Vision Pro doesn't have Wi-Fi 6E. But on the 5 gigahertz band, the Vision Pro constantly pings channel 149 to check for these peer-to-peer AWDL related things, whether it's like AirDrop or universal control or Mac virtual display, all these sorts of things. In doing this, if you're not using channel 149 as your main Wi-Fi channel, you end up in this situation where the Vision Pro constantly hops back and forth between your main Wi-Fi channel and channel 149. Now, typically, this wouldn't be a huge issue. You wouldn't notice. In fact, I'm watching YouTube stuff just fine on the Vision Pro with my previous Wi-Fi setup. And normally you don't notice this.
Yeah, it's cached. That's why, right?
Yeah. But when using something like Moonlight, which is a very low latency, doesn't have what is called I believe it's called a fat buffer or something, a fat packet or
that's
something like that.
That's what I meant by caching. It's basically buffering.
When it's supposed to be as low latency as real time as Moonlight, that stuttering is the Vision Pro constantly switching between channels. And there appears to be no solution for now, unless you have a router that you can manually switch on the 5 gigahertz band to channel 149. I had a couple of problems with this because my previous Wi-Fi setup, I had the Eero Wi-Fi 6 setup. The Eero doesn't let you manually change channels for a specific band of your Wi-Fi network. But more importantly, I realized after, channel 149 is not legal in Europe. The regulatory bodies that sort of control which Wi-Fi channels you can use in the home haven't approved channel 149.
Interesting.
So I started thinking about this and I was like, okay, first of all, I know that it's time for me, regardless of the Vision Pro and PC streaming, it is time for me to upgrade to a Wi-Fi 6E setup. Yeah. I want to have better Wi-Fi routers, regardless of Moonlight and the Vision Pro and PC games.
Sure.
So first step, I upgraded to 3 Asus routers. They are the AXC7800. They are these ugly spider-looking routers with 6 antennas sticking out. It's a 3-band system that supports 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz, and it automatically switches devices between those bands depending on where you are inside the house. Let me tell you, John, up front, this setup is incredible. I am getting speeds that are so much better than the Eero. I basically quadrupled the local speed that I was getting in my bedroom.
Wow.
I used to get like 100, 150 megabits down between devices on the local network. Now I'm getting 450, 500.
That's great.
It's a massive improvement. But I realized when I got these new Asus routers that I still couldn't change the Vision Pro to channel 149 because it's not legal in Italy. But then I realized, wait a second, I am still using the Vision Pro in Italy.
Yeah, Apple must be doing something other than 149 in Italy.
Exactly. Apple must have a fallback for when you travel with the Vision Pro and use it in other places. And as it turns out, John, there is. When you are in Europe, instead of using channel 149, the Vision Pro and other Apple devices, I assume, for AWDL, they use channel 44. That's so after manually switching my network to say never change automatically between channels, always stay on channel 44 on the 5 gigahertz band, I tried Moonlight again, and it was perfect. I was able to stream Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth at 4K with my Z13 acronym to the Vision Pro without lag, without stuttering. It was incredible. Now, there's an additional thing that I need to mention before we wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a theory that I'm getting better performance. And now this is just my personal theory. I'm going to run some more tests and let you know if my theory was correct or not. I got this performance today just by using the Z13 alone without the eGPU. I am concerned that streaming games from an eGPU adds a
Oh,
bit of latency to the setup that the Vision Pro didn't like. But
hmm.
this is just a theory for now. I'm going to check again and let you know. I didn't have time to connect the eGPU today and confirm. But for now, I can tell you that my Z13 plugged in without the eGPU, just straight into Ethernet in a different room. My Vision Pro in the bedroom with the new Asus router that I have, incredible performance. It was perfect. Channel
No, that's
44. If you're in Europe and you can
yeah.
change the channel on your 5 gigahertz band, channel 44.
That's great to know. Yeah, that's interesting with the eGPU. I wonder if
It's
potentially
just a theory. I'm not convinced.
it'll be interesting to see what you find out, because I wonder if, is it possible that there's some sort of lag because of the way it connects, or is it putting more data over the network that's slowing you down, or is it just is it just a coincidence, and your tests will show that it's not a big deal? But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you got that solved. I mean, I have found that, this is the thing. There needs to be a way to connect a Vision Pro into Ethernet, because
yes.
even if you have fast Wi-Fi at home, you're going to run into issues with Wi-Fi when you're trying to game, because you need incredibly...
It's just Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi.
It's just Wi-Fi. You need it to be stable. You need it to be fast. You need it to not have dead zones. And it's just really hard. Some days are good. Some days are bad.
Yep.
All right. I will wrap up with a very quick pick for everybody, because we haven't done a media pick in a little while. And this is Criminal Record on Apple TV Plus. This is a fantastic British crime drama where Peter Capaldi plays a detective called Daniel Haggerty. And the setup for this, I don't want to spoil it, because this is kind of a slow burn crime show. I really have enjoyed it because it's a match of wits between Peter Capaldi's character and Cush Jumbo, who plays June Lenker, who is another detective on the force, who is a Black woman. And there's a lot of interesting issues here of kind of like old school detectives on the London police force and their prejudices against women and against people of color. And, there's a lot of that going on here, a lot of social commentary and exploration of bureaucracies and how sometimes they get in the way of justice in big cities. That's all at play here too. But at the heart of it is a really interesting mystery, which starts with a young woman calling on a payphone to the emergency services, and one of the detectives, June Lenker, gets on the phone with her, and she says something. She says something about a past crime and something that called that past crime and the person who perpetrated it, who was put in prison for it, into question. And so June Lenker spends the rest of the series trying to figure out who this woman is, what is she talking about, and what's going on with this old case where someone was put into prison for life. And it's just, it plays out in a really interesting way, because it's this battle of wits between these detectives and trying to figure out what's going on with the detective agency as an institution. Is there a cover-up? What exactly is happening? And it just wrapped up last night. Now, I have not seen the final episode, but it is out. It's 8 episodes in total, and it's a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend it. I will say, though, that you might bounce off it a little bit at first, but give it a little time because it's one of those shows that just takes a little bit of watching to kind of really get your bearings and get it to really stick. But once it does, I've really looked forward to the episodes every week. All right, Federico, that's it for this week's episode of Mac Stories Unwind. I want to thank our sponsor, Paste. Go check them out. You can find me and Federico over at macstories.net. We're on Mastodon. Go to vitici.macstories.net and johnvoorhees.macstories.net to follow us there. And we're on Threads and Instagram, where Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHEES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.